Okay, thanks.
I think people from here did write an awful lot of letters, I mean, to people they normally wouldn't write a letter to. And,
Yeah, I mean,
because I got letters from other, people.
friends, it
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
it was the thing to do to keep in touch with.
Sure,
the
sure.
overseas,
Sure, and you probably received, I don't know, maybe 5 letters a week?
Oh, I don't know, I got probably, maybe something like that, yeah. I mean, enough anyway to keep it interesting, and it was fun to go to.
Good for morale.
Yeah.
I told her, mother's never worked any time,
No, heavens
so
no.
the Lancaster we found it was such a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was interesting to me because as I have skimmed over obituaries from time to time, not necessarily people that I know since we moved to Lancaster County, I was amazed at how many ladies had worked in tobacco factories or clothing factories or shoe factories, because my mother and father certainly didn't have any income of any, but their friends were all pretty much in the same situation, but none of those women worked. One couple had a little grocery store and Bertha would help out in the store some, but I mean, my dad would have thought that was terrible if my mother had worked, and yet we were.
And you two are sort of unusual from all the hundreds of interviews we've conducted, because almost all of them have had mothers who were working somewhere.
My mother
But
never-
that might be that Western
I
Pennsylvania.
think it was, because again, the friends that we grew up with and got married, none of those women had jobs. We all stayed home with our kids.
Mhm.
I don't think mother ever worked even when she was young.
No, your mother,
Well, of
no.
course, she was,
She
my mother,
lived in China and.
and so forth.
There's a whole other chapter we should pursue.
An interesting one, yes. But then she came back and she was very young when she married your dad. So she never had a job of any kind. But I got a job after we moved to Landisville,
Mhm.
and our son was in high school, and I started volunteering at the June Smith Center in Lancaster. And then I was hired to work as a special children there
Mhm.
at the June Smith Center, and I worked there then for quite a while.
Quite a while.
About 12, 13 years.
That's quite a while.
Well, my age was. I was a little late starting. It was great. I liked it very much.
Good.
Liked the people I worked with.
Good.
The children were terrific.
Did the two of you get married shortly after his return from Europe?
6 weeks.
All right, well, that answers that question.
My mother made my wedding gown, and we had a church wedding all within that length of time.
Holy cow.
Well, we decided if he ever happened to get a job, we'd better go ahead and get married because there wouldn't be any time to go.
There you go.
to take a trip or do anything special. So,
Well, did you know this wedding was coming up when he was on his way home?
well, I knew I was engaged, but I hadn't really.
Oh,
hadn't really-
so you were in Pittsburgh waiting for the train
with an engagement ring.
with an engagement ring, and then, Lyle, how long did it take you to ask for a wedding date?
I think we started talking about it right away. We set a date, I don't know, probably August or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah, and then
far
I
out.
thought, well, gee, if you get a
Move it up.
job, you can't ask to take time off, and we figured we had to have time to get.
Of
to get
course.
acquainted.
Well, of course.
So finally I said to my mother, well, we think we'd like to get married in May. So she bought material and made me a wedding gown
Holy.
with little buttons all the way down, buttonholes.
And I didn't get a job until August,
Mhm.
something like that.
So what are we, in May of 1946 then?
Yeah, we were married, yes, in May,
What day?
8th of May,
Really?
which is, turned out to be VE Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not VE, Japan, but they,
No, that would be VE.
a year,
VE
yeah,
Day,
that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, you were, yes,
Yeah,
that would have been
it was August
first
for the
anniversary.
Japanese, yeah.
Yes.
A year earlier, I'd been in London.
Yes, he was
That's
in London for
amazing.
VE Day.
That is absolutely amazing.
And that wasn't intentional, it just happened to be, and it was a Wednesday evening. Can you imagine anybody having a Wednesday evening wedding today?
Not lately. Tell me about the wedding.
It was in Central Presbyterian Church,
Mhm.
church my parents belonged to, my grandparents had belonged to, I grew up in, and Cindy and Jim belonged to it. We had a fire and food, build a new church, and they were members of, well, I mean, it was just a family church.
Guests came from both sides of the
Oh,
family.
yes, some of my dad's relatives from Catan, the big
Mhm.
city. And-
Yeah.
And my mother really just had she had 2 sisters living in Newcastle. So. church wedding.
Church wedding, church
And
reception?
Had, yeah, ice cream and cake in the church basement.
Excellent.
And my two sisters and my good friend, and we all got white dresses, even bridesmaids. And my mother added a little flounce on to my older sister so that she could look like the matron of honor. And so that was different. Everybody was wearing pink and so on, so I put it all white.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And then the two of you were established then.
And well, yeah, we got an apartment, which was very hard to find right after the war.
Sure, housing was difficult.
Second floor of a house, not too many blocks from where we grew up. And we had to share the bathroom with a couple that owned the house and lived on the first floor.
$55 a month.
Yeah, and that was, so then I read in the paper where if you had to share a bathroom, they couldn't charge over $50 a month, so I mentioned that to the owners, and they reluctantly reduced our rent by $5 a month. And then there was some vacant lots across the street from where our parents lived, and a man up at the corner owned a lumber company, and so he proceeded to build 2 houses at the time across the street. So we had first dibs on one of those houses. And of course, with a GI loan,
Yes.
we were able to live there for the same price for $50 a month.
That's amazing.
And had a nice big yard, and Lyle's dad helped build a nice stone wall in the back, and, you know, did all kinds of things.
Is the house still there?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. In fact, we built onto it just before our son was born. He was our 3rd child. We built more basement and put in a big addition to the kitchen and a 3rd bedroom because our girls had shared a bedroom. This is 2-bedroom house to start with.
Do you ever go back to see it?
Well, yes, because, I mean, when we go, we have been in Newcastle for a while, but when we do, we've driven down past. And
A lot of memories there.
it's one of the new houses on the street.
Yeah, a lot of memories there then.
Oh, yeah.
And what is the address of the house?
920 Hazel Street, yeah. My home address was 911 and yours was 921 and ours across the street was 920. And I had great in-laws. Lyle's mother and dad were, you know,
Wonderful.
yeah, we were lucky.
Wonderful.
I'd saved money when I was in the service, and I think about a week after was that before we were married or after we went down to Pittsburgh?
Well,
Blew up
no,
one
before
time.
we were married, yeah, we went down to Joseph Horn's and
Yes.
bought new bedroom furniture, new living room furniture. And then when I was working one day, he and his mother went out and bought us a table and chairs. Blew all the money.
Well, all at Horns, mind you.
Yeah, we really went all out.
Well, there is a good place.
Yeah.
I can remember when Horns was still in business.
Well, that was elegant.
Yes.
Very elegant.
Yes. But you didn't go to Kaufman's.
No, we didn't do Kaufman's, or if we did, we liked Horn's better. But just getting new furniture. We couldn't get a refrigerator.
That would have been tough.
And I worked at the power company.
Mm-hmm.
And they sold appliances at that time, or had been before the war. So we had
Bucket.
a bucket. And every evening, we would walk over to my mom's and his mom's and get ice cubes in this bucket. And stop on the way home at a local little store and get milk and lunch meat. And that's where we put that in the bucket. So we had milk for breakfast and lunch meat for my lunch in the morning when I went to work. And we did that for, I don't know how long, 6 weeks, 2 months. And then the power company started getting, and I was on the list. So we did get a refrigerator, which was really pretty fancy.
Yeah, hot point or Frigidaire or something.
Frigidaire,
Yeah.
oh yes, Frigidaire. So we did that for a lot of years.
After the war, after we were married and all, she belonged to a card club. And these girls would get down to Pittsburgh about once or twice a year. And they would doll up high heel shoes, hats, gloves, the whole works, and walk all over Pittsburgh.
Well, of course.
Shop. And we didn't buy much, but we shopped. And we, the highlight of that was to go to Joseph Horn's for lunch.
Yes.
That was really living up. And the girl who would drive wouldn't drive clear to Pittsburgh, so we parked on the bridge on this side.
Mm-hmm. On the north side.
Yeah, and walked across, you know, these high heel shoes.
But that's what you did, you dressed up when you went someplace.
And
Yes.
we rarely ever had a babysitter. I mean, even everybody said, oh, you've got two sets of grandparents across the street. His mom and dad went to bed about 9 o'clock. And my mom and dad were very social. I mean, they belonged to car clubs, and my dad was in, you know, the Masonic thing and church activities. And my dad just said, we raised our kids. We love them, they're yours. So we had, you know, very, very rarely did either of them babysit for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they enjoyed having the kids come over, or if we were with them, or, you know, they'd go over there. Lyle's mother would fix, she called it milk tea, and she'd have tea parties with the girls. It was, you know, tea was mostly milk.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they were dearly loved and thoroughly enjoyed, but they just never even thought that was part of their responsibility. And
Right.
we didn't have a car the first 5 years we were married.
And was that a big problem?
No, we had
Newcastle?
public transportation, we
Mhm.
walked. And the friends we had were all pretty much the same. We all started having babies right away.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got together, we just took our kids.
Mm-hmm.
We might get together and play cards on Saturday night, but we took the children with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they would wreak havoc in a bedroom or someplace while we were playing cards.
Well, this is a truly wonderful story that we're going to try and edit this down a bit so we can fit it onto a DVD.
I mean, it's not very exciting, but it was
yes.
fun.
Oh, but yes, it is.
It was
That
fun.
time,
Very, very fortunate.
To capture a slice of that time is very important to people that are living today. Those of us, I'm one of those people who remember the World War II generation very well because they were my parents' generation. And, you know, I still see that picture, but I look at my children and I say, you know, they're starting to lose
Yeah.
that clear focus. So we don't want to lose that. So that's why this is a very, very exciting part of history.
Well, none of our friends, or even, you know, further out friends, I can't remember any of them that were ever divorced. And then our children's friends, I don't know about, you know, like Cindy and Jim and Mary Jane and Jody. I don't remember of many of them commenting on their friends being divorced.
Sure.
But and certainly my mother and dad's, I mean, my dad could be a tough person to live with. I used to get mad at second thinking, how my mother stand it. But he was my father at the time, you know, and he was very strict. I mean, I certainly loved him, but when I think back on it now, how many women would have, you know, taken his temper tantrum?
You wonder,
whatever it
don't
was.
you?
I mean, and there was certainly never any alcohol in our family. My dad smoked, but we girls would have been, I come home from work and we would smell of cigarettes because, the washroom, everything, the women, so many did.
Well, there was about,
And he would have a fit, you know, if he thought I'd smoked.
What were you smoking?
And I'd say, well, I might as well smoke because I'm getting accused of it anyhow, but I,
there was about 10 or 12 my buddies in the gang, we run around in the neighborhood. I don't think any of them ever smoked or drank before the war. Yet 2 or 3.
That would have fixed that. War would have fixed that.
About 2 or 3 of them at least died alcoholics, really.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
well, for one thing,
Just the contrast between life then and life today, I think.
but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they didn't have the money.
Right.
It's true.
I just
Right.
really think money was
I
a
think you're
factor
right.
in a lot of things, you know.
I think it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't afford to buy cigarettes even if they were, I don't know how much, 10 cents a pack or whatever, I don't know what the price was.
Boy, but the PX made that possible.
Probably. And like I said, alcohol was an unheard of thing
Yeah.
in our family.
Candy. Candy was big.
Oh, yeah, candy we,
I remember we were rationed
Made a
with
lot of
7 candy
fudge.
bars a week,
Mm-hmm.
and I would trade my cigarette ration to somebody for a candy ration.
Boy, you can't beat that.
And a lot of times the candy was cough drops, licorice cough drops.
Mm-hmm.
And I popped those things because they were
kind of addicted
Sweet.
to. No, we were extremely fortunate.
Yes, we
We
were.
continued to be extremely fortunate because we got
And that's one
Great
thing I've
family.
noticed about all of our interviews, is almost everyone has
Yeah.
said that to us. And that's another thing we need to carry on.
Yeah.
So I thank you both for that, thanks.
Hey, it's kind of been fun.
Thanks.
I don't know what he told you.
Well, now our hard work is getting all this narrative